This is the Astros Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Houston Astros, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
After the longest winter in Astros recent history, probably about the last decade, they are finally back in action today. And man, oh man, they did not wait very long to test your will as they find a way to make it interesting in the 8th and the 9th, but somehow, some way, are able to get Juan Soto out, the richest man of the offseason, to strike out to end the baseball game and get an opening day win for the 13th time in the last 14 seasons, as the Astros are 1-0 and one of the teams that is alive to go 162-0 in the regular season. Hello and welcome this evening to the Locked On Astros Postcast. You might be on this channel saying, who is this guy on this channel? I am your host, Mike O'Connor. This is something we did all last season over on the Locked On Sports Houston YouTube page, but this season, the show is transitioning here to the Locked On Astros page. I am happy to be here. We're live after every single game. Brett and Eric are still doing their thing, so don't worry. You still have those guys. I'm sure they're going to be live here in a little bit as well. Make sure that you're checking out their show. But we're with you live, me, Michael Connor, after every single game right here on the Locked On Astros YouTube page. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're new to this channel as well. This episode today of the Locked On Astros Postcast is, of course, the first of 162. It's a weird thing when you sit back and go, 162 of these, a long, long season, but they have to get started on the right foot. And there was a lot of things that I want to get to throughout the show today. Just first of all, how great it is to have baseball back, the good feeling that it gives you to go out there and watch them play this way. Cam Smith's big debut, of course, garnering a lot of the headlines today. Altuve and left, and then I want to finish up the show. Now that I'm not in a world, if you are new to who I am, I was on the radio on the Astros flagship station for about 10 years. I don't do radio anymore. I have not had my opportunity to kind of share my thoughts on what I think the 2025 season will look like and my overall view of what they did in the offseason. We're going to get to that a little bit towards the end. We're not going to spend much time on that, but just want to give my expectations for 2025 before we get out of here today. Let's start with the great today. I think the thing that you're going to be talking about more than anything else in this baseball game.
This is what you'll be talking about.
It's another day, and it's another Framber Valdez awesome start. That's, I think, the biggest thing that you talk about out of this baseball game today. For the Astros in 2025, they're going to have to win a lot of games, I think, via the pitching. The pitching's going to have to be stellar. You could make the argument that the pitching staff on paper going in is not the deepest that we've seen in some time. There's optimism for a lot of guys. You could be getting arms back at some point in Christian Javier later in the season. Lance McCullers here very soon. But I don't think that it's wrong if anybody has worry about the Astros pitching staff. The bullpen, massive question marks to me. They're going to test themselves, I think, this season on how resilient they are pitching-wise. If they pitch like this, they're going to win a lot of games. I know it's rocket science, right? We've watched this for years with this Astros franchise. When they get great starts, they are going to handle it very well. And today they got a brilliant start out of Framber Valdez. He was everything that he typically is, and you absolutely love to see it out of him. This guy is a horse. This guy is the ace of the staff. And, again, I'm not going to get too far into the weeds of it. We've got 162 games of this ahead of us. I know that we're going to have many moments like we did last season where we talk about players' futures and whatnot. I was very disappointed that they went through spring training and did not make any kind of offer to Framber Valdez to lock him in for a little bit longer. I know he's going to be expensive. I know that it's a dangerous game to play pitchers. But, look, when the guy pitches, he's awesome. And he kind of got off to a little bit of a rocky start today in terms of throwing strikes. I believe when he got to the 36 pitch mark in the game, he was 18 balls, 18 strikes. And then he kind of righted the ship. 7 innings, no runs, 4 hits, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks. He was Framber Valdez. And this is the ideal scenario for the Astros. You get a starter, goes out and gives you that, and you hand it off to Abreu and you hand it off to Hader. Now, of course, Abreu and Hader had something else in their mind today of going out and making you, test your will again. I know that it's, again, you can't overreact to one game in 162. You can't even overreact to a month in a 6-month-long Major League Baseball season. So much of this you have to give it time to play out before you can start to garner, or gather a real, idea of what a team's identity and their performance is going to be in a regular season. It wasn't an optimistic start for those two today. I mean, it looked like Brian Abreu from last season where he came out there constantly and puts guys on base and, just makes you stress out. And then Josh Hader, again, it's one outing. I'm not going to – because he got really good during the regular season last year for a lengthy period of time. He was bad for a good chunk of it at the very beginning. I think the thing that worries me with Josh Hader, and again, I wasn't a fan of it when they signed him. My hand was up. I was on the radio at the time. I said it the day that they signed him. I never understood why you spent that money on a closer. It made absolutely no sense at all. You don't need to spend that kind of money on closers, period. They did. That's the world they live in. They're stuck with that. He can't be this guy. I think one of the things that scared me the most about Josh Hader last season was the fact that at times it felt like he didn't have the out pitch available to him. He was not able to blow it by guys to get the outs in the big situations. I think we saw a little bit of that today. First game, again, I know that. I'm not going to completely overreact. I was, like most of you, simply annoyed with the way that it went there in the ninth inning. And it really felt like, oh, man, here we go again. They're going to do this on opening day, and this is the absolute worst idea to start the 2025 season because I'm going to have to go on this show and do a lot of being mad. And you can still be mad about it, of course, but it just wasn't what you were looking for out of the Astros and Josh Hader there to do it. But I don't want it to overshadow. Look, they got the 3-1 win. That's what matters, right? At the end of the day, they have more runs than the other team did. They made the Mets overall today look like a team that didn't have enough offense. Now, they, of course, have enough offense. You look at that lineup on paper, they've got a lot of studs throughout it. And, of course, it was a little bit sweet to see Juan Soto be the guy to go down swinging for the strikeout after Hader got down in the count 3-0 there to finish the ball game. But again, it gets back to me. I think the biggest thing that you talk about in this baseball game today is the fact that Framber Valdez was absolutely magnificent. And it was another reminder that this is the staff ace, and so much of their success this season is going to come on the shoulders of Framber Valdez. They're going to need 30 to 32 starts out of him like he typically gives. You always get quirks in the schedule. You might find yourself even with 33 of them in a year or 34, but probably 32. And they're going to need the 200-plus innings, and they're going to need the guy that goes out there and posts a sub-3 ERA. And it's a big year for him, too, because he has the ability to go out there and make himself a ton of money this upcoming winter. And that was a perfect start to it. Long season ahead, but I'm talking on game one of the season to be able to go out there and give 7 innings. You go look across teams across the sport, they don't typically give their starters that kind of a leash in game number 1 of the season, and they got that today. And it also helps that, of course, he was very economic with this pitch count, having 90 pitches across his 7 innings of brilliant work today. We're going to give out some player of the game awards here in a bit. I also want to talk Cam Smith's debut, Altuve in left, and then we'll finish off with my overall thoughts on this team in 2025 and where they are going this year after these quick messages. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trade, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, deliver fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Masters program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. One more message before we get back to our discussion on the Astros opening day win today over the New York Mets. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. You got your eye on a lot of guys out there, a lot of underdogs still available to you. That's what you're looking for there on FanDuel. The app is easy and simple to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around. Visit FanDuel.com to get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. It is the Locked On Astros Postcast this evening. Hello and welcome to the show. I am your host, Michael Connor. If you're listening or watching us live, if you are a typical visitor to the Locked On Astros YouTube page, you might be wondering, who is this guy with the red beard sitting here talking? He's not Brett. He's not Eric. I am Michael Connor. I am the Locked On Astros Postcast host. We do this for all the Houston teams, Astros, Rockets, Texans, and the Cougs. And this season, we are transitioning all of these shows onto the team YouTube pages within the Locked On Network. I'm very excited to do that here on this channel. I know that a lot of you come and hang out here. Appreciate you taking some time out to watch me live. Don't forget to watch Brett and Eric later with their Locked On Astros podcast that they have. Of course, this show is also available in the audio version on the Locked On Astros podcast feed, as it was all of last season. So maybe if you're listening to this instead of watching it live, you're probably like, I recognize this voice. Yes, we did this all of last season as well. I've been doing this for a very long time, talking Astros baseball, and excited for another season. I was trying to think about it today. I think this is my 10th season, technically, of post-game shows. I did them forever on the radio, and we are here now with Locked On, and I'm very excited about it. Let's talk about a few things today, a couple of debuts that we saw out there. Oh, I did want to get, because you know what? I made all these notes during the game. I usually don't make pages and pages of notes. I will dumb it down as the season goes along like anybody else because it's 162 games. But I did track today. One of the things the Astros had an issue with last season was, and we've heard them talk about it, their offense way too aggressive last year. The walk rates went down, the strikeout rates went up, the swing rates went up, the chase rates went up everywhere. Now, of course, they went through an offseason where they've changed the offense up. They lose Alex Bregman to the Boston Red Sox, which, hand up still, I would have signed him to that deal, but it is what it is. It's over. You move on from it. It sucks, but it's just, you know, if you didn't have a $95 million closer, maybe you would be able to afford that, and you could have Isaac Paredes over at second and have Altuve on left and Linus more multiple. But that's for another day. You lose him, you trade away Kyle Tucker, who was in the last year before he was a free agent. You get Cam Smith. Of course, we're going to talk about him here in a second. But they were not always the most patient team last season. So I kept track of it today. Let's just run inning by inning real quick of pitches seen. And also one of the things that I did like today, they had traffic all day. Even if it was one runner, they at least had one runner reach in every inning out there today. First inning, 4 batters went to the plate. They saw 17 pitches. Second inning, 6 hitters, 6 hitters, 22 pitches. 2 pitches would be bad for 6 guys. In the third, 6 batters to the plate, 17 pitches seen. In the fourth, 4 batters, 16 pitches. The fifth, 4 batters, 20 pitches. In the sixth, they had 4 batters, 10. 4 batters for 17 in the seventh. And then in the eighth, 4 batters and 13 pitches seen. So not like incredibly taxing innings late as the ball game moved on. Of course, they had a lot of those early in the game, but they had at least 4 guys, and they had at least somebody reach base every inning. Overall, 36 guys went to the plate, 132 pitches seen today, average 3.66 per at bat, which is a little bit low. I think you'd like to creep that closer to 4. I don't know what their number was last season. I'd have to go back and look that up, but just wanted to make note of that. One of the things that I think we all can agree needs to change for this team in 2025 is that they have to be more selective at the plate. They can't be as free swinging. They've talked so much about it. We all watched it with our eyeballs last year. The data can tell us what the data tells us. They were too aggressive, and their chase rate was bad, and they didn't have quality at bats constantly. And I kind of liked the quality of the at bat today. And one other guy that I wanted to point out in there was Isaac Paredes today. His at bats were, now look, I'm not the biggest Isaac Paredes guy. Like, if he's good, awesome, you know, But, I'm not overly excited about a 230 hitter who's just a dead pull hitter. There's going to be a weakness that gets exploited. And, it is what it is. And part of it, I will admit, there's the emotional connection of Alex Bregman being a franchise icon that, you're replacing him with this. But I'm not saying that he's a bad player. I just wasn't like gung-ho that this is the guy. I like the at-bats today. We saw it in the spring quite a bit. He takes pitches. He saw 5 pitches in his first at-bat. That was in the first. In the third, he walked on 4. Then we moved ahead to the 4th inning where he grounded into double play, but he saw 6 pitches. His next at-bat came in the 7th where he struck out on 7 pitches. So he saw over 20 pitches in the baseball game today. It's nice. I see why they're going to slot him into that 2-hole. He's going to have to produce to stay there, though. We know that. He can't be a 198 hitter like he was, I think, with the Cubs last season when he was in his brief time there with the Cubs last year. But overall, played a solid defense today, too. He's got good hands over there. We'll see what the range looks like. Not in the best of shape. The other guys that matter today, Cam Smith, what a cool moment for him. First pitch swinging, did what he did all spring. I love guys, right-handed hitters that go out there and hit the ball the other way. If you played baseball at any point in your life, I think that you went, to hitting coaches or whatever, you're always kind of taught as a right-handed hitter, right center gap. Right center gap, that's where you're going to be the purest of pure as a right-handed hitter. And he has that kind of approach. He doesn't try to do too much with it. And we saw that all spring long. He hits the ball hard. Might not hit the ball hard a ton today. Like Christian Walker today, his debut as well. I mean, that guy hit over 100 miles an hour in the first 3 at-bats he had and went 1 for 3. And he can move too. It was a really cool moment. It's an aggressive play to put Cam Smith at the big league level this quickly after 32 minor league games. I don't necessarily love that. There is part of me that looks at the arbitration game and goes, well, he's going to be a free agent after his age 27 season now, which sucks. But that's years from now. Sign him to an extension now if you really believe in him. Get him while he's young. That would be the smart play, like they should have done with all those other guys for all those years. But what a cool moment. I'm really, really hopeful. I'm excited. I'm worried because, again, it is a 22-year-old with 32 minor league games under his belt. Never touched AAA. I know that AAA doesn't necessarily matter. It doesn't really matter. Some places view AA as the real place that you kind of see how a guy is going to handle himself at the big league level. But that was a really cool moment today, and I'm really, really hopeful for him. He's going to be an awesome major leaguer. I am convinced of that. He's got all the tools. He's got all the size, and you can just tell from listening to him and kind of gathering what people say about him. I've texted some people about him as much as I can, and it sounds like he's the real deal. He's carrying himself as a big leaguer from the jump since he got here, and what a great day to see him out there, and I'm hopeful that it goes well for him moving forward. Obviously, Joe Espada is going to get him out of the game there late when they're leading. Don't have a problem with that, putting your best defense forward out there in the outfield to try and win the baseball game today, getting Chas McCormick in there, who did lay down a sacrifice bunt in the spot for him in the 8th inning. It did not turn into anything there for the Astros. And then the other guy was Jose Altuve today out in left field. Weird, man. Just totally weird. This is something, and not a lot of people really know about this, but back when, and I forget the year, back when DJ LeMahieu was a free agent after his first stint, or after he initially went to the Yankees and then became a free agent, the Astros, after that year he was a free agent, were like trying like crazy. And I know this for a fact. This is something that, for all my years in radio knowing people, I've heard this from multiple people. They were trying that offseason to sign DJ LeMahieu. And they were going to do it and move Jose Altuve to the outfield. Altuve at the time, from what I know, wasn't necessarily thrilled about that and made sure that he showed up at the ballpark and worked out at second base every day. But it's been coming. He doesn't have a lot of range over there at second base anymore. He never really had a ton of it. He won 1 goal. He's just not the world's best second baseman. He's not bad by any means. He's just not the world's best second baseman. You're hoping for an average at best left fielder who's probably going to see some time DHing as well, of course, because he's about to be 35 years old. It was a little bit interesting. I think it's going to be a wild ride. The instincts aren't there, clearly. They're not going to be there for a while. But he's a fast enough player still to where he's going to make up for some of that. You just hope that he's not running into other outfielders like he almost did there with Jake Myers early in the baseball game, cutting him off. But overall, fine day out there. At the plate, I will say if there's one guy I was disappointed in today, he did rocket one back up the middle to get his first hit of the 2025 season. I did not like his at-bats today. I thought it looked, and look, again, game one, you can't write the book on what the season's going to be and what he is or what he looks like based off of one game. I completely get that, and I'm not going to. But he had 3 strikeouts today that were all very, very similar looking to last season to me, where he was just up there flailing and stuff. I know he's an aggressive hitter, but man, last year, to me, he was the toughest watch he had been in a while because I thought he was over-aggressive. And this is kind of what happens. These are the signs of an aging player. You have to get out in front more. You have to get out and chase a little bit more to get the results, to chase the numbers, to be the effective player that you've been in the past. I'm hopeful that we see he reverts to a little bit more patient guy, and he's not chasing as much as the season moves along. I mean, he had career high in strikeouts last year, and the walk numbers went down too. I'd like to see him get back to the guy that became really well balanced there in the the prime of his career. Not saying that he can't be a prime kind of player anymore, but he's not going to be peak Altuve. I think we can all agree to that. Getting there to the age of 35 and moving forward for the rest of his contract and the rest of his career. So those 2 guys today, I'm sure they were like kids in the candy store, that first day of school feeling overall for both of them today, one being a big league debut and one being a debut for a man in a new position out there in left field. We'll wrap some things up here, some final thoughts. My 2025 expectations for this team. I will start with, I was not the biggest fan of the winter. I did not tweet about it a ton. I did not have any videos about it because we're in the middle of Rocket season. You can find me tonight later on the Locked On Sports Houston page doing the Rockets postcast where they play the Jazz. If you're looking for me on Twitter or X, it's down there. Connor Michael is where you find me. I did not love their winter. They put themselves in a funky situation with money. I don't love the fact they do spend a lot. I'm never going to call them cheap. They spend a ton of money. They've always spent a ton of money. They've been a top 10 to top 5 payroll basically every year for years now. I've hit the point where I want to see you not give a what about luxury tax and whatnot. So I did not love what they did. I did not mind because you were not going to get a contract extension done with Kyle Tucker. I'm not going to go into the GM should have never said that he was going to be an Astro for life. Of course, he shouldn't have said that because, look, Dana Brown came here, promised a bunch of extensions, and has delivered almost big fat zero. It's been Christian Javier and Jose Altuve. That's been it. He has not delivered one word on what he said when he got here. But I liked the pickup of Christian Walker. I think the defense gets solidified big time at first base. I think that he is going to be a really good fit in that ballpark. I think he hits the ball really hard. Of course, with a mid-30s first baseman that you're giving $60 million to, you're going to be concerned about the health a little bit with the oblique already popping up. So that's interesting. I talked about Paredes already. They're in a transition year in this era of baseball. But I think that this transition year is still good enough to win this division. I kind of look at the AL West as a whole this season and kind of see what went on. Of course, the Angels did typical Angels. They'll be down there at the bottom. They got a bunch of guys that are going to be traded off or not do anything really for them by June. I think the A's are on the come. I was shocked that they spent money like everybody else, but I think they kind of had to for good PR. They've kind of locked in some guys as well. They've got some good young talent in some certain spots. I don't necessarily think that they're going to be a winning team this season, but they're not going to be a pushover anymore. I think those days of the A's being a pushover are completely done. The Seattle Mariners, to me, are still the biggest challenger in the American League West, and that goes all the way back, of course, to the pitching staff. But they didn't do anything either to their offense. It's the same thing. It's the same team that they run out there every year. Pitching gets hurt. If I was a Mariners fan, I would be ticked because you have this elite staff, and they've done nothing to supplement it when it comes to offense. Now, they don't have their money situation might not be great, whatever. I'd be ticked. They are wasting that rotation. They're going to be a real challenge in the American League West. Then it comes down to the Rangers from there. I think the Rangers can compete for the wild card, and I think that they can compete for the West. I think the West winner this year wins somewhere between 85 and 90 games. I don't think it's a great division. I really don't. I think it's a lot like last season. I don't buy the Rangers hype that the Rangers got all over the place. Health matters. I get that. They got some guys back, but is everybody going to stay healthy? And when's the last time Jacob deGrom stayed healthy for a full season? Then they're not going to count on him for a full workload. Evaldi always has something pop up. John Gray always has something pop up. They have some young guys that are interesting, and Wyatt Langford, and of course Carter was terrible for them last season. And I'm not going to sit here and down them like they're not a threat. I just don't understand the hype that they get necessarily. I still think that the Astros are going to end up winning the division in 2025. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it'll be close. It will be interesting to see how they supplement this team as the season moves along. I think the biggest thing that I was probably most disappointed with in the offseason was I really, really thought that they should have found a way to shed the Josh Hader contract after 1 year. You know, the likelihood of finding somebody to do that was slim to none. I get it. But I really wish they would have tried to do that, free up some money there. Again, I would have kept Bregman at the money he ended up getting because it wasn't a lot. I thought that their offer was completely fair. And look, he might not have wanted to be back here as well. That's part of the story there. And I'm really wishing they added another starting pitcher. I mean, look, you go back and look at even Yusei Kikuchi, the dollar amount he got, man. Probably could have kept him for that. But again, that's not going to outweigh my overall optimism for the season. This is still a good baseball team. Is it their best lineup that they've rolled out on an opening day? No. It's not their best overall team, but it's a good team. And I don't see really anybody in the league right now other than the behemoth that has more money than God, the Los Angeles Dodgers, being that kind of juggernaut right now. And then you just go look at the American League as a whole. I don't think that there's a juggernaut in the American League. The Yankees took another step back this offseason. I think that they're going to struggle to make the postseason. I think that AL East is extremely interesting to see who comes out of there. And then the Central, it's got some young, feisty teams. But I don't think there's anybody there that necessarily terrifies you. So we're going to see how this plays out for the Astros. They can win the American League once again this season. There's no doubt about that. Will they be able to pull that off is the question. All right, that's number 1 of 162. Just so you guys know, moving forward, these shows won't be this long typically, but it's game number 1. I wanted to get through everything and then again wrap things up with my thoughts. Don't forget to check out Brett and Eric later. I'm sure they'll have a new show for you guys as well. Every time that we have an Astros game, for the most part, I'll post on the thing if there's not going to be one. Almost every single game, we will have a live Locked On Astros postcast right here on this channel to react to what we see out there on the field. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope your nerves have calmed down after the Astros made you stressed there at the end. We will talk again tomorrow night after game 2 of this 3-game set between the Astros and the Mets right here on the Locked On Astros postcast.